Never before has there been so many generations in the workplace and the marketplace at the same time. Never before has there been such an opportunity for collaboration. Never before has there been such an opportunity for conflict. Our speaker, Meagan Johnson, is here to help us navigate the challenging generational waters in her unique presentation, Developing Multi-Generational Relationships in the Workplace. Her clients include Harley-Davidson, American Express, Pepsi, Cadillac, Burger King, and the Central Intelligence Agency. She has been quoted in the Chicago Tribune, CNN, Money.com, U.S. News and World Report, and many other publications. She and her father are co-authors of the best-selling book Generations, Inc., From Boomers to Linksters, Managing the Friction Between Generations at Work. Please join me in welcoming Meagan Johnson.
So I was at this family reunion recently, and I'm looking around the room, and it dawned on me that even in the best gene pools, there's going to be a weak link. Be honest, how many of you have a weak link in your family? Yeah. Is the weak link you? No, the weak link cannot be you, because in my family, I don't want to consider the weak link as me. In my family, in my opinion, the weak link is my cousin Brendan. I agree, thank you. Number one reason Brendan and I do not get along. I know we all love our family, we do everything we can for our family, but there's no rule written or said that we have to like each other. True? Number one reason Brendan and I don't get along? He's 19 years old. Right there, the two of us just clash. Brendan does this thing with his baseball cap. I have to admit it, when I say this, I feel old, but I don't get it. We live in Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix is sunny, like 361 days a year sunny. In Phoenix, you're supposed to wear your baseball cap like this, with the bill pointing forward, keeps the sun out of your eyes. But Brendan, he moves his hat around like this, keeps the sun out of his ear. And then he got a tattoo. I have no problems with tattoos. I imagine there's a few of you that have a tattoo or two. I'm too afraid to get a tattoo. But not Brendan. I saw Brendan at this family reunion. I walked up to him. I said, let's see the tattoo. He rolled up his sleeve, right here on his bicep. One word he had tattooed on his arm, one word. It read, Brendan. He had tattooed his own name on his bicep. Somebody the other day, she asked this audience member, she said, well, did he tattoo it upside down so he could read it? Now, Brendan comes what we call Generation Y, sometimes called the New Millennium Generation. These are people born after 1980. I'm just curious, how many of you are Gen Yers born after 1980? Where are the Gen Yers? Oh, look at them out there. There's a little pod of them. I get to just stand up here and watch them ignore me. I know what they're thinking. You know, she won't notice me texting under the table as long as I maintain eye contact. Now I compare Brendan to my other cousin. My other cousin's name is Hannah. She's also a Gen Yer, polar opposite. For one thing, she's incredibly enthusiastic. And when I say enthusiastic, I mean she's off the charts. You ask Hannah a simple question. Hey, Hannah, do you want to go to the store with me? Hannah will stop what she's doing. She looks you directly in the eye. She says, Meagan, I, Hannah Ken, would love to go to the store with you. Let's go. If you ask Brendan the same question, Brendan, do you want to go to the store with me? He doesn't even answer you. He just makes noises with his armpit. So here's what I'd like you to do. I've got a big favor. I know you just finished eating lunch. Gen Wires, would you raise your hands one more time? I need to see the Gen Wires again. Where are you, Gen Wires? Okay. Gen Wires, I've got a huge favor to ask. I need you, just for this exercise, would you mind getting up and going and standing with Allison? Just for this exercise. Go standing with Allison. There's Allison in the back of the room. Would you mind getting up and going standing with Allison? I need to ask you to do me a favor. Thank you. Oh. Okay, just ask him to stand up and go to the back of the room, all right? Jeez. All right, wonderful. Okay, so, Gen Wires, here's what I need from you. Oh, look at you all together. Okay, I need you to create, as a group, I need you to create a list of words. List means at least 3. A list of words, and you know what, it's so big, divide yourselves into 2 groups. So, this side of the camera and this side of the camera. A list of words that describe interacting and working with the older generations. Now, definition of older means everybody else born before 1980, okay? That's older. Now, Gen Wires, don't give me some sugar-coated list. You know, that when you, don't give me some sugar-coated list when you join the fire department or the health or the police department or whatever public sector you work for. Don't give me some sugar-coated list about your mentor that, helped you along. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear a realistic list. I want to hear about the people that call you at midnight because they can't get Google Maps to talk to them, okay? So that's what I need from Gen Wires. The rest of you, at your tables, I need you to create a list of words that describe the younger generation. And you're describing somebody more like Brendan than Hannah, someone that's a thorn in your side, a burr under your saddle. Could be somebody you work with, could be somebody you live with. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and then I want to hear what you have to say. Go. Fifteen more seconds. 15. Okay. Let me interrupt you there. Let me interrupt you. Everybody do me a big favor. Your best John Travolta imitation and point to the sky. Point to the sky, everybody. Point to the sky. And the count of 3, you will point to your group spokesperson. 1, 2, 3. I love volunteers. Okay. So we're going to start with the Gen Wires first. Gen Wires, who's the spokesperson here? Nate. Nate is the spokesperson. Nate, and you're with the Municipal Employees Retirement System of Michigan. Okay, great. And so, Nate, what were some of the words you had on your list?
Well, this is not just my opinion, for the record. Stubborn.
They're stubborn. Oh, they're so stubborn. Okay.
Technologically inept.
Technology inept. They say things like, print that email. All right, what else?
And the last one, adverse to change.
Adverse to change. Oh, and Nate, how long have you been with MERS?
4 months.
Right, okay, so So, so, so Nate's, been at MERS for a while, and he's been, working, and he calls this person over here. He says, "Come over here, take a look at this," says Nate. "I think," says Nate, "if we move this, change this, flip this, turn this, it'll be bigger, it'll be brighter, save us money, save us time. What do you think? Wow." Nate's excited. Now, this person over here who's been at MERS for a long time, they've been dealing with retirement before there was anything to retire. They look at what Nate's suggesting and say, "That won't work." "No, really," says Nate. "Move it, change it, flip it, turn it, it'll be good." "It won't work." "Why won't this work?" says Nate. "I've given this a lot of thought. Why won't it work?" "We tried that before." We tried this before," says Nate. "I've been here for 4 months. I don't ever remember trying this." "We tried it before you were born." All right, let's give Nate and his group a round of applause. My other Gen Y group, who's our spokesperson? Ryan, what do you got?
Entitled.
Ooh, they're entitled. Ooh. Wow. Ooh. The natives are getting restless.
We also had stubborn.
Okay,
It's a reoccurring thing here.
And?
Yes. Entrenched.
Entrenched, okay, stuck in their ways. Let's give both groups a round of applause. You're welcome to return to your seats. Thank you so much. Okay, what have you got to say about the younger generation? Do I see a hand up here? Tell me. Give me your best one, your best word.
Unprotected.
They're unprotected, all right? What else? I see a hand up right here. Give me your best word. They're impatient. They want to know when they're going to get a raise. When am I going to get a promotion? I have been working here for 2 weeks. All right? Yes. Entitled. Yeah. You owe me. I showed up, didn't I? But I got to leave early. I have plans. If you looked at my Twitter feed, you'd know that. All right? Anything from over here on this side of the room? Got anything? Yes, women with the short hair. They're tech inept? Tech distracted. Yes. They will stand right next to you and text you. Then they look at you and say, "Did you get my text?" I saw a hand up. Yes, gentleman, Steve. There's squirrel? Squirrel. This is a Michigan thing, isn't it? I don't. Squirrel. Oh, can't pay attention. Okay, yes. Oh, I'm gonna leave Steve now. Anything from over here? Anything from over here? Yes. They're spoiled. All right. I saw another hand up over here. Yes, gentleman in the blue shirt. They're lazy. They look at you and say, "This is just a job. This isn't my career." I mean, I'm not going to be here years from now when I'm old, like you. Good job. Round of applause, both sides. Great job. Now, you heard in my introduction that I speak to groups about different generations. In every group I speak to, I ask them to participate in this exercise. I ask the Gen Yers to create a list of words to describe the older generation, and I ask everybody else to create a list of words to describe the younger generation. And you know what? Same list of words. Well, except with squirrel. Squirrel is the outlier in that bell curve, yeah. Same list of words. Gen Yers give me the same list of words to describe the older generation, and the non-Gen Yers give me the same list of words to describe the younger generation. Doesn't matter where I am in the world, doesn't matter if I'm speaking to a group like yourselves, or the CIA, or Bubba Gump Shrimp Company, same list of words. Now, I am not a Gen Yer, So what I have done over the past year or so is I have collected the words that I hear most often used by groups like yourselves to describe Generation Y. And some of the words are exactly what you've told me. Some are a little bit different, but here they are. This is the list of words that groups like yourselves, professional groups, give me to describe Generation Y. Bad attitude. They just do not have a teamwork attitude. Continually complaining, gossip, lazy, rude, apathetic, wants reward. But my favorite one's the last one. They want to have fun. Oh, and they're irritated if the work isn't fun. As I said, I speak to groups all over. I get the same list of words. Now I have to tell you something about my list. I cheated. I actually got my list out of a magazine. Just took it right out of a magazine. Took it right out of Life magazine, 1968. Baby boomers. How many of you are baby boomers born between 1946 and 1964? Let's see your hands, baby boomers. Let's review. Baby boomers, your man just thought you had bad attitudes. You complained, gossip, lazy, rude, apathetic, want a reward, and all you want to do is have fun. Now all those baby boomers are sitting there saying, well, that's all character building. That's what that is. That's character building stuff. How many of you are Generation X, people born between 1965 and 1980? That's my generation. Where are my Gen Xers? Yeah. Don't sit there so smug. Generation X. In 1998, Fortune magazine called us the gold collar workers. This was not a fashion accessory. That's what I thought it was. Nor was it a compliment. Here's a little snippet from the article. Work is not work. It is a hobby you happen to get paid for. And that was about Generation X in 1998. So what's my point? My point is that whenever a new generation enters the workforce, the marketplace, joins you at your municipalities, you know what I'm trying to say there, the more seasoned generation often uses the same negative words to describe that incoming generation. And I think in part those negative words stem from a sense of frustration the more mature generation has with the younger generation's youthfulness. And the definition of youthful means new. They have a new, different set of experiences than you do. I call these experiences in part generational signposts. And a generational signpost is an event or phenomena that is specific to one generation. It shapes and influences the way we perceive conflict. It drives us when it comes to motivation. But most importantly, our generational signposts bond us to one another. We share a unique emotional bond with other people that share our generational signposts. For example, is there anybody here that had a paper route when they were a kid? Anybody have a paper route when they were a kid? All right, gentleman right there in the middle with the light blue shirt on. Yep, you. Tell me your name. Pat, you had a paper route? How old were you when you had a paper route? 10, 11, 12? And was it a morning route or an afternoon route? Morning on the weekends and afternoon weekdays? And did you fold the papers and put a little rubber band on them? Yeah? And did you collect money from people on your route? Yes? Okay. And you're about 10, 11, 12 at the time? Perfect, Pat. Thank you. How many of you receive a newspaper? Because over 50 million of us get our news off the internet, but I think it's important to support our papers. How many of you receive a newspaper? And it comes delivered to your house? Raise your hands if it comes delivered to your house. And it is delivered by a 10-year-old. Who delivers your paper? An adult? Are they riding their bike like our friend Pat? No, they drive by and aim it at you. Baby boomers, you remember when you were a kid, your school's gonna have a fundraiser, sell candy? How'd you sell that candy? Door to door. How do you sell your kids candy today? You buy it all. You say, let's just get it over with. I'll take one of everything. So what's my point? My point is that over time, generational signposts change, and sometimes they erode away altogether. But we hang on to the same expectations of others, other people that we work with, other people that we live with, the people you're talking to about retirement. We hang on to the same expectations that were developed during the formation of our own generational signpost. This is what I call generational myopia. It also leads to conflict. Right now, 60% of employers are Employers report tension between the generations. 70% of older employees are dismissive of younger employee talents, and 50% of younger employees are dismissive of older employee talents. The reason being is because your generational signpost plays an emotionally significant role in your life at work, your life at home, that is absent with someone from a different generation. Every generation is marked by what I call a point of no turning back. And what that means is the way we do business, the way we communicate, the way we facilitate our day-to-day lives changes so drastically that the way we operated previously becomes almost obsolete. I was recently at a shopping mall. And you know when you go to a shopping mall, they have that mall directory with a list of all the stores and an outline of the mall? There was a 3-year-old girl. She was standing in front of that directory sign. She was taking her finger, placing it on the sign, and she was moving her finger across the sign, trying to manipulate and change the image. And when the sign didn't move, she looked at her mother and said, "It's broke." But she has a different expectation of the way the vendors in the mall are going to connect with her. The people that you are communicating with today, baby boomers, traditional generations, Gen Xers, the new millennium generation, they all have different expectations of you and what you're going to do to successfully connect with them. And if you're going to have successful conversations about retirement, we've got to connect on a generational level. And that's what I want to do during our time together, is take a little journey, take a look at each generation, their generational signposts, and what you can do to make each encounter, an encounter in the workplace, an encounter in your own home, more successful. Sound good? All right, Chris, my paper boy. It was Chris, correct? Pat, well, the other one. The C is silent. Pat, you let me pick on you, so I have a CD for you. Does that work? All right, would you give him a big round of applause, please? Thank you. Now, I know some of you are note takers. You love to take notes, and that's great. Thank you, sir. That was a squirrel move right there. That was squirrel. I know some of you like to take notes. That's great. Taking notes is wonderful. I do want to make you aware, on the table outside, I have a generational decoder card. It's a low-down, dirty summary of everything we're talking about. Please feel free to grab yourself one. If you get back to your offices and wish you had more, just call me, email me. I'll send you as many complimentary copies as you need. I also have the top 10 list sheet. It is the top 10 mistakes you're making with Generation Y and what you can do about it. If you would like me to email that to you, fill out that little feedback form that was sitting on your chair when you sat down, include your email address, and I'll send you the email. Sound good? Yes. Now, I do have a question for everybody. Who is this person right here? Anybody know who this person is right here? That cute baby? It is not Pat. Want to take another guess? It is Chris. Yes, it is. Would you give Chris a round of applause, please? Now, we're going to start talking about the traditional generation. These are people born before 1945. Do we have anybody from this generation with us, the traditional generation? I don't see any hands up. Some of you might be Gen Liars, but I don't know. That's all right. You know what? This generation, sometimes called the silent generation, sometimes called the World War II generation. My favorite name for this generation is one coined by Tom Brokaw, the greatest generation. And as this generation came home from World War II, they began to have children, which is what I think these two people are about to do. And that's where we have the baby boom. These are people born between 1946 and 1964. Baby boomers? I know I asked you once. I'm going to ask you again. Raise your hands, raise them high. Wave to each other, baby boomers, and look around and see how many baby boomers are in this room with us right now. It's like a little mini baby boomer convention. Baby boomers. 77 million people were born. 77 million. Do you realize as baby boomers reach senior citizenship, the number of senior citizens in our country is going to double? That's like taking every single person that lives in California and every single person that lives in the New England states. That's how many senior citizens we're going to have. And they're still going to be driving. Slowly. Oh, baby boom. My grandfather, he comes from the traditional generation. And he said that when he was in 8th grade, his family took him out of school. Why did they take him out of school? Put him to work. I was about 9 years old when he told me this story. I just thought he was lucky. One generation later, our entire attitude about education transformed. Baby boomers were expected to go to school, complete high school, and pursuing higher degrees of education was not as important. And pursuing higher degrees of education was important. Did I say not important? It just slipped my tongue. Pursuing higher degrees of education became more important. And baby boomers, you're the first generation to ever be graded on a report card, works well, and plays well with others. Not saying y'all had it written on your report card. But getting along with others was important. And it was important because you had large classroom sizes, 30 kids to a class, 40 kids to a class. I spoke to somebody the other day. She told me she had 60 kids in her first grade class, 60. If I was the teacher, I would call in sick every day. And so baby boomers, it was important you got along well with others. You were encouraged to share. And the ripple effect, the changes we see in the workplace is that baby boomers are our teamwork generation. Think about the 80s, as baby boomers began to assume management positions. That's when we really started talking about teams, having a team meeting, elected a team leader, had a group hug, saying kumbaya. Inside every baby boomer, there's a kid wondering what the heck happened. This guy's just wondering what the heck happened to my pants. Biggest mistake we make with baby boomers is we assume baby boomers are not interested in technology. Baby boomers are interested in technology. In fact, some of you may not know this, but baby boomers were the very first iPhone users. They were using iPhones before any of us. Here's the generational difference with baby boomers. Baby boomers want to know, how is technology going to make my job or life easier? Not just technology for technology's sake. So if you're somebody who is technology savvy, you're into technology, I encourage you, demonstrate to the baby boomers how technology will make their job and life easier, and the conversations that you will have with them about using technology will get lots easier. Now, baby boomers. During the late 60s and the early 70s, a lot of baby boomers, you began to challenge and question the rules. And during the late 60s and the early 70s, a lot of baby boomers had pharmaceutical assistants. Some of you had more than others. This is actually a picture of my two favorite baby boomers, my mom and dad. Yeah, that's my dad wearing a flowered blouse. But baby boomers were successful by challenging the rules. By challenging the rules, we began to see the desegregation of schools. By challenging the rules, the job market began to open up for women. And as the job market began to open up for women, it coincided with the Vietnam War, and the birth rate began to fall. This is where we have Generation X, people born between 1965 and 1980. Gen Xers, where are you? Woohoo! Well, that was anticlimactic. Wow. Let's try it again. And the birth rate began to fall. This is where we have Generation X, people born between 1965 and 1980. Gen Xers! Yes! We're the smallest. We're barely there. We represent 13% of the entire population. And Generation X, we love to pound our chest. We love to say things like Generation X, it means X marks the spot. No, it doesn't. It's actually part of an algebraic formula. The X has no value. That's how important we are. We got a name with no meaning or value. And Generation X, we're the first generation to have in large numbers both parents working. And not just both parents working outside the home, but both parents working outside the home and pursuing careers that often took families away from their extended families. So Generation X, when we were little and we came home from school, mom wasn't there, dad wasn't there, grandma and grandpa, they didn't even live in the same state. Nobody was there. What did we call them? Anybody remember? LatchKey Kids. I do not think being a LatchKey Kid was a bad deal. Because as a LatchKey Kid, here's how it worked. When I was a little kid and I was in school, from 8 to 3, I always found it ironic that there were all these rules I had to obey for my safety. Then 3 o'clock, they open the doors, you're free to go. Your time is your own. You don't have to hurry home. There's nobody waiting for you. We sauntered on home when we felt like it. We let ourselves right in the front door. We could let ourselves in the front door because we had our own key. Where do we keep our key, Gen Xers? A little string around our neck. We'd walk into the house, and there sitting on the kitchen counter was a list of tasks that have been left by management. And here are the rules. It's such a simple system. The task must be done to a high level of quality, sure, but most important, they got to be done on time. On time means for management being mom and dad, are due home at 6 o'clock. So if they're due home at 6 o'clock, when do we start doing the tasks? About 5:45. But it's up to us to decide. We can decide when to start, when to stop. We can decide how many breaks to take. And if something goes wrong, there's nobody there to help us. We've got to solve the problem, complete the task, and move on. So Generation X has become our most independent generation. And they join you, and their attitude is, hey, tell me what you want done, give me the tools and training to do it, and then just leave me alone. Cannot forget about our friends, the baby boomers. Baby boomers are our teamwork generation. There are baby boomers out there that like to have meetings to talk about the next meeting. And after 1980, the birth rate started to climb. This is where we have Generation Y, sometimes called the New Millennium Generation. Where are the Gen Yers? Raise your hands. Let's give them a round of applause, please. For the first time in history, we got two generations side by side, Gen Xers, Gen Yers, we are side by side. And we have the same set of parents, baby boomers. Baby boomers, your parents are both Gen Xers and Gen Yers. And there are some of you baby boomers, you had yourself a Gen X kid and you thought, well, that stunk, I'm gonna have myself a Gen Yer now. But do we use the word latchkey kid to describe Generation Y, yes or no? No. We use words like stay-at-home dad, soccer mom, play dates, family time. It's the quality of the time that matters. This generation's had one, sometimes two parents involved in the activities they participate in, the friends they have, sometimes the jobs they choose. The ripple effect is this generation has remained close to their parents. Average age that this generation now leaves their parents' home is 26 years old. Woohoo! That's kind of squirrely. According to a Gallup poll, 90% of Generation Y report being very close to their parents. Compare that to 1974, 40% of baby boomers said they'd be better off without their parents. Now, how many people in the baby boom generation total? How many? Remember, 70? Exactly, you ready for how many Gen Yers? 80 million. They've surpassed the baby boomers. In 5 years, they'll represent 40% of the workforce, and in 10 years, they'll represent 75% of the workforce. This is a dominant generation that we cannot ignore. Now, look at the high numbers of people they trust. Look who get the highest numbers. Parents, teachers, police all get the highest numbers of people this generation trusts. Low numbers given to music, celebrities, and athletes. Now, that doesn't mean you won't have somebody on your team that will make some decisions based upon somebody's celebrity status, like this young man right here. No, you can't be Charlie Sheen for Halloween. But the big decisions, in fact, I got to show you this. Chris sent this to me. I mean, I guess he's all ready for Halloween. Look at him there. Aww. But the big decisions, the decisions are going to impact whether they save for retirement. Because I was lucky enough to talk to many of you before coming here today. And when I asked you, what would you do differently? You said, I wish I had started saving for retirement earlier. The big decisions are going to be with the help of their trusted advisors. And in the work environment, that is you. As their most important employee benefit, 33% of recent college grads chose training and development over salary. And it's this last percentage I find so exciting. 98% felt that working with mentors was important. 98%. That's huge. You have this generation that wants to be mentored. Yes, they are technology connected, but they also need someone to help them cut through the clutter. And you are that person that can help them do that. I had read a wonderful article at USA Today. They were interviewing college professors. And college professors were dumbfounded because their students that were about to graduate college, were turning in papers filled with instant message language. We all know what instant message language is, substituting numbers, letters, shortening it up. And in the same study, when they interviewed those students, the students were just as confused because they weren't even aware they were using the instant message language. It had become so second nature to them. And as I read this article, I thought, wow, even the way we write to each other has changed. So for example, if somebody from the traditional generation was going to write a letter to Tom Smith, how would someone from the traditional generation start that letter to Tom Smith? Dear Mr. Smith from the traditional generation, the baby boomers. How would the baby boomers start that letter to Tom Smith? Dear Tom. Whoops, where's my dear Tom? There we go. How would the Gen Xers start that letter to Tom Smith? Let's go with Tom, shall we? And how would the new Millennium Generation Y person start that letter? Dude, T, hey. They wouldn't even write a letter. But they'd send you a text, and the text would say, I'm too hot for you. What's my point? My point, though, is sometimes we discount Generation Y and the skill set they bring because it is a different set of skills than we had at that age. Hey, just because it worked before doesn't mean it's going to work this time. You kind of have to look at that slide, don't you? Yeah. So if you're going to open up the avenues of conversation with this generation to talk about retirement, on the flip side, we also have to listen to their ideas that they're bringing into the workforce. And here's the litmus test. If you've got a Gen Y who wants to do something different, kind of has a different idea, rather than saying no, I want you to ask yourself these 4 questions. 4 questions. Does whatever they're suggesting or whatever they're doing, does it negatively impact cost, quality, safety, or service? Whatever they want to try, they want to move it, change it, flip it, turn it, even though they've only been here for 4 months, move it, change it, flip it, turn it. Does it negatively impact cost, quality, safety, or service? And if the answer is no, that is a red flag to you to, hey, let's give this a try. Because when you do that, what you're doing is you're opening up the avenues of communication with this generation. I was in the car with my father. A song came on the radio called Love the One You're With. How many of you heard this song? Stevens, oh, I love this song. And when it came on the radio, I told my dad, I said, turn it up. I love this song. He said, really? He said, what do you like about it? I said to my dad, I like the message it sends. He said, well, what do you think the message is? I said, well, the line in the song, if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. I said, what that means is if the one that you love dumps you, you got to love the one you're with. And the one you're with is yourself. You have to love yourself first. I told my dad it is clearly a song about self-empowerment. He said, that's not what the song means. And after he told me what the song meant, I said, that's disgusting. Because it doesn't matter how old you are, there's certain things you never want to hear your mom or dad say. I said, here's the difference, Dad. You grew up in the 60s. You had that cornball slogan, free love, spare me. I grew up in the 80s. There was no such thing as a free lunch, much less free love. But this generation, they don't even need to see you face to face to communicate because they feel comfortable using technology. Baby boomers. Most baby boomers first learned to use computers at work. That's where they became familiar with technology. Gen Xers, most of us learned to use computers at school. But this generation, they're using computers, tablets, smartphones before they even go to school. And for the first time in history, we have a younger generation that knows more about something we need to know. We'll bring a brand new computer home. We'll call our kids over. We'll point to the computer. We'll say to our kids, okay, how do you install the parental controls? They've got the answers. According to Nielsen, over 70% of the new millennium generation feels that technology makes their lives simpler. Over 50% feels technology brings family and friends closer. And 25% rank technology as the top defining characteristic of their generation. Baby boomers named work ethic. What does this mean? This means this technology really is not just defining this generation, but they are using it as a communication tool. And what allows them to do that is social media. And social media is such an interesting animal because it's not used exclusively by Generation Y. My father, he's a baby boomer. He's on Facebook. He unfriended me. Claims it was an accident. Here's the generational difference, though. For many baby boomers and Gen Xers, yeah, we'll use, and I'm just saying Facebook as an example of social media. We'll use Facebook, but you know what Facebook is really good for? Facebook is a great way to go look at the people you dated in high school and make sure they're not doing as well as you are. But social media, and when I say social media, I mean Facebook, I mean Twitter. And if you're on Facebook, please come find me. I'm Meagan Johnson, generational humorist. It is not a toy, it is a tool. In an L2 think tank study, it was reported that over 80% of successful Gen Yers log onto Facebook every day, and more than 50% are influenced by Facebook and web-based information when making buying decisions. It is not a toy, it is a tool. I encourage you, reach out to your talented Gen Yers and ask them to reverse mentor you when it comes to social media. 33% of the new millennium generation report social media freedom in the work environment is more important than salary. And 50% say that in the next 10 years, social media knowledge will be a prerequisite to work. This is from the new millennium generation, the generation that is taking over the workforce. We need to be able to use their tools to communicate. But what happens is we have a negative reaction. We get tired of their dependency on technology. So we say, you know what, no more cell phones. I don't want to see any more cell phones. And if we're not going to have cell phones, definitely no Facebook. I don't like pictures of whatever you're doing. And texting, forget it. I don't like all those little statements. And definitely no more Twitter. I don't like the blue bird. And we're going to have to quit twerking right now. I had somebody say to me recently, she said to me, now, Meagan, twerking, is that when you text from the office? I said, yes, it is. That's exactly what it is. But here's the translation. When we talk so disparagingly on the tool that they feel brings family and friends closer, that defines our generation, when we are so disparagingly about it, this is the translation. No smiling, no laughing, no talking, no fun, no trust. Number one complaint from this generation is we do not trust the skill set they bring into the workplace. And if we're going to open up those conversations about retiring and saving for retirement now, we have to be open to the ways that they want to communicate too. Because it's that emotional connection. It's that emotional connection we have with our generational signposts. That's how we take multiple generations and work successfully as one. Thank you very much. I hope you had as much fun as I did.